There's a kind of mistake you can't take back. The kind that blows up in real time, witnessed by a room full of people, and worse, someone you never expected to be watching. Claire had no idea how fast her world was about to collapse, or that the man who once shared her teenage dreams would be the reason. Claire had been pacing the apartment for nearly an hour, phone pressed to her ear as she coordinated last-minute details for her upcoming high school reunion. Her husband, Jake, sat on the couch, flipping through channels with a tired thumb, half listening to the endless chatter coming from the other side of the room. Claire waved her free hand as she talked, animated and clearly excited. When she finally hung up and collapsed beside him on the couch, there was a light in her eyes Jake hadn't seen in a while. Done. Everything's booked. I can finally breathe, she sighed, stretching her legs out in front of her. Jake pulled her closer, arm sliding across her shoulders. You all still keep in touch, her? He asked, smiling. Of course, Claire said, grinning. We were a tight crew back in the day. I can't wait to see them all again. It's been too long. Jake chuckled, then gave her a small nudge. Just don't go too wild with the drinks, all right? She rolled her eyes. Oh, please, Jake. They'd been together for almost 8 years, meeting in college and quickly becoming inseparable. In the early days, life had been full of wild adventures, spontaneous road trips, crashing on couches, dancing until dawn. But things changed once Jake landed a stable job and started climbing the ladder. They settled down. Claire, however, wasn't quite done chasing the thrill of youth. She'd recently thrown herself into a new career path that gave her freedom and flexibility, and it wasn't long before she started seeking excitement again, dragging Jake to bars, beach parties, even music festivals. He started saying no more often than not. Quiet dinners and early nights became more his style, so Claire leaned on her girlfriends for the kind of fun Jake wasn't into anymore. Still, he trusted her. Every time she went out, he asked her to just call when she was on her way home. Simple, respectful boundaries. That weekend, she was headed to a water park for her friend's birthday, and Jake invited his sister, Melissa, over for dinner. Melissa was a night shift bartender and rarely up before evening, so she arrived around sunset. They sat in the kitchen, sipping tea and laughing at her stories from the bar. But eventually, Jake grew quiet. He stared down into his mug, and then finally spoke. Mel, can I ask you something? You think Claire's, I don't know, losing interest in me? Melissa blinked, surprised. Losing interest? Where's this coming from? Jake hesitated. She's always out. We barely spend time together unless we're both half asleep after work. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but it's starting to feel like she's avoiding me. Melissa considered his words. I'm not married, so I can't say for sure. But if I were in your shoes, I'd talk to her. Or maybe shake things up. Do something unexpected. Jake nodded, chewing on the idea. Then it came to him. Claire had her big reunion that Friday night. Maybe after that, he'd surprise her with a weekend getaway. They hadn't done anything, just the two of them, in a while. He remembered a lake they used to visit as kids. Quiet, peaceful, romantic. That was the plan. Let her enjoy her reunion, then take her up there the next day. No stress. No tension. Just time together. But plans have a way of unraveling when you least expect it. Friday night arrived. Claire came home after work, quickly changed into a sleek black dress, fixed her makeup, and practically flew out the door. Jake kissed her goodbye and told her to have fun. She promised she wouldn't be late. Meanwhile, Melissa headed to her bar shift, only to find out that Claire's reunion was being held in the very same venue. Her heart skipped a beat. Was this fate? Coincidence? Either way, she decided to keep an eye out, just in case. Claire walked in with her former classmates, full of laughter and energy. Everyone was hugging, reminiscing, raising glasses. Melissa stayed behind the counter, unnoticed, blending into the background. But she wasn't the only one observing. From the corner of the room, a man slowly made his way to the bar. He was tall, lean, with a touch of grey in his hair. He looked like he carried a story, and Melissa recognized the expression on his face before he even spoke. Hey, Melissa, he said, reading her name tag. Quick question. If you loved someone years ago, like way back in school, and those feelings suddenly hit you again, is it worth chasing? Melissa raised an eyebrow, cautious. You think those feelings are real, or just nostalgia? He gave a crooked smile. Feels real enough. She poured him a drink, leaning in. If the love was ever real, it doesn't expire. But just make sure you're not blowing up someone else's life for a memory. He downed the shot, nodded, and walked away straight toward Claire. Melissa's stomach dropped. She recognized him now. Zach Miller. Claire's high school boyfriend. The one everyone joked would be her prom date for life until they split senior year. He handed Claire a drink. She laughed, surprised and a little flustered. Then he led her to the dance floor. And that's when things crossed the line. The lights were dim, the music loud, but Melissa could see everything. Zach held Claire close, too close. Her hands slid along his shoulders, his arms wrapped around her waist. Her head tilted back as she laughed at something he whispered in her ear. Melissa's fingers shook as she pulled out her phone and started recording. She zoomed in just as Zach ran his hand down Claire's back. She sent the clip to Jake, no words, just the video. A minute later, the message was marked read. No response. 20 minutes later, Jake walked into the bar, stone-faced. Melissa saw him before Claire did. She tried to signal, but it was too late. Claire and Zach were gone. Jake pushed through the crowd, asking her friends where she'd gone. One pointed toward the hallway near the restrooms. Moments later, a commotion exploded. A man stumbled out of the hallway, pants undone, face pale. Jake was right behind him, dragging Claire by the collar of her blouse. Her makeup was smeared, hair tousled, eyes wide with panic. The crowd gasped. Security rushed in to break it up, but the damage was already done. By the next morning, Claire's belongings were on the front lawn. Jake had packed everything the night before, driven by betrayal and disbelief. He didn't want an explanation. He didn't want apologies. He wanted out. Claire later learned that Zach was married with kids. He told her that night meant nothing. A mistake. A drunken memory that would stay buried, far from his family. He ghosted her by Sunday. Claire had destroyed her marriage, her reputation, and her illusion of control. She stopped going to reunions. Kept partying. Chasing thrills that no longer satisfied. Eventually, she married another man, a fast-living charmer who seemed exciting at first. But over time, Claire grew paranoid. She started checking his phone, his location, his eyes when he looked at other women.